Oh, hi, Norman. Kind of early for you to be opening up that tourist trap, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when your father hired me, he said I had to be in at 7:30 every morning. Then I showed him a copy of the child labor law. Now I don't have to be in until 8:30. Hey, that's kind of a wild model.
Well, hi, Dad. How you feeling today, eh?
None of your business. If you came for coffee, you know where it is. Go get it yourself.
Did the apple boxes arrive yet?
10 of them, all bad.
That's what's wrong.
That ain't the half of it.
Well, where are they? I'll throw them away.
I've already done that.
Well, I think I'll come back after lunch then.
You'll stay and have a cup of coffee.
Well, what's wrong, Dad?
Nothing wrong, nothing.
Anyone ever suggest to you you're getting to be as grumpy as an old goat?
Mrs. Montgomery phoned to say that the copper bucket I sold her and promised wouldn't turn green when she put plants in it. It turned green yesterday. And Mrs. Sewell bought 5 pounds of walnuts. All of them got worms in them. Mrs. Cooper wanted one of those old brass bells off a ship. I sold the last one yesterday for junk. Add to that 10 boxes of rotten apples, and then our young delinquent here is supposed to come in and brush up at 8:30 in the morning, nonchalantly strolls in at 10 minutes to 9. And you with a silly grin on your face. And what do you got that for?
Well, you wouldn't appreciate it now anyway, Dad. I'll come back a little later on.
No, you won't. No, you won't. Leave that Persis Howe right here. Oh, look at that whaling beauty. There she blows. There she blows. 2 points off the starboard bow. I bet you don't know her history.
No, you?
Of course I do. Everybody knows anything about whaling knows the history of the Persis Howe. She got a piebald whale one day. And that's the best thing you can possibly do. They're hard to find and they're harder to kill, but when you do, the soul of the piebald haunts the ship and brings good luck, the likes of which you'd never dream, until it's free. Well, sir, for 10 years, the soul of the piebald stayed with this ship. The whales just schooled around, asking to be harpooned for 10 whole years. But then, the night before she sailed the last time, cabin boy came down here, crawled out on the bowsprit to the figurehead, and then he cut the ear off the figurehead, took it home to his mother for a lucky charm. Well, sir, 2 days out of port, the ship went down. All hands lost in a dead calm sea. They said the spirit of the piebald was in the figurehead, and when the boy cut off the ear, it freed the spirit. So you see, the piebald whale always gets revenge in the end.
Well, that's quite a story, isn't it? You, quite sure you just didn't make that up?
Oh, you ungrateful brat. I suppose you want me to patch up that beauty?
If you would, yes.
Well, if you'll do me a favor in turn.
Anything.
Put a lid on your tongue when you're talking to Martin Peyton.
Oh, so that's what's bothering you.
That's what's bothering me, and it ought to bother you, too.
Well, Peyton's opinions have been bothering enough people in Peyton Place.
You'd be allowed to say that if you didn't have a family to support.
I can support my family and my ideas. Thank you very much, Dad.
Sometimes it's smart to fight the powers that be, but most of the time it's just darn foolishness.
Well, if it's foolish to tell an old tyrant like Martin Peyton that the days of the autocrat are finished, then I am darn foolish.
Did anybody ever suggest to you you're getting to be a grumpy old goat?
Oh, no.
Elliot.
What?
You're just a middle-aged child, playing with boats, fighting single-handed battles against pirate kings. I did something wrong in bringing you up. I wish I knew what it was. I could undo it.
Oh, Dad. It's in the blood. It has nothing to do with bringing up. We're just restless people, that's all. Look at you in this general store here. Look at Allison. She's just the same.
Then there'll be trouble.
Well,
Good morning, son.
how are you?
Can you give me a minute of your time?
Listen, you have just saved me from a fate worse than tearing down a Model T transmission.
Oh?
Balancing the books.
Did they come out?
Well, better than I expected.
Well, you've answered one of my questions. The garage seems to be doing well by you, and vice versa.
Yeah, well, we're good for each other.
How's your home life?
That's an odd choice of words.
Coming from me? How's your grandfather?
Oh, he's like a national institution. Outside could use a new paint job, but the inside is as solid and vital as ever.
Is it bearable for you?
Hey, it's more than that. It's almost comfortable. And when it isn't, at least it's never dull.
Any regrets?
When you make a deal with somebody, whether it's a handshake or a 20-volume contract, it's still a deal. How about you? Any regrets from your side?
One. It wasn't idle curiosity or even a sense of guilt that made me ask how you and your grandfather were getting along. With you comparatively happy in that house and Norman married. I sound like a selfish old man asking why his son is never calling.
Thought we were going to talk about the mill.
But it's helped being back there, Rod, more than financially. I needed to work at something that I knew and loved. But I need something more. I've asked Mrs. Anderson to marry me. She hasn't given me her answer yet.
Look at that shelf.
I wanted to know how you'd feel if Mrs. Anderson and I were married.
Well, you're jumping the gun a little bit, aren't you? I mean, there's still a Mr. Anderson.
There are ways of getting a divorce under Julie's circumstances.
I bet you feel every one of them.
Rod,
How long has Mother been dead?
is that an objection?
You don't need my consent.
I'd expect that kind of thing coming from Norman, but not from you. You were never that close to your mother.
She's more than a fond memory.
That's not the real reason. You're still smarting from
Go ahead, say it. Find the right phrase.
what you thought our relationship was in the past. True?
Yes. That evening I interrupted you and Mrs. Anderson. That's more than a fond memory, too.
You've grown up in so many ways, and not in others. You can take on this garage, yet you can't outgrow an adolescent hurt.
You want to know what that bit of information did for Betty and me? We were wiped out. We never had a chance after that. Every time I looked at her or tried to make small talk with her father, all I could think of was you and Mrs. Anderson behind some closed door.
I need someone to share what's left of my life. So no matter how you feel, if Julie Anderson will have me, I'm going to marry her.
Norman.
Hello, Mrs. Court.
I wipe my feet.
Norman.
I'm glad you could come.
Sure.
Sit down. Not over there. Over here. Where I can see you. Do you play chess?
I guess I've been too busy to learn.
Busy with what?
Well, I am married, you know.
Oh, yes. Yes, how is your wife?
Rita? Fine, great.
I'm glad to hear it. And your marriage is happy?
Very.
Good. Norman, what are your plans for the future?
Why do you want to know?
Well, you're my grandson. I have an interest in you.
Well, I've been your grandson for 18 years.
Well, most of those years, you didn't need me. You had your mother.
Well, I don't need you now, grandfather.
How much money do you make working for Eli Carson?
How much money do you make from your stocks?
Norman, I tell you. The last time we had a serious talk, we wound up arguing. You know, I think it's because we don't understand each other. I want to remedy that misunderstanding now.
Why?
Why? I want to know you.
You're a little late.
Norman, you're going to go to college. You need money, clothes, and...
I'll take care of it.
I want to help you.
No, thanks.
Why not?
I don't want to get all hung up in the strings attached.
No strings.
Every couple of months, you feel guilty because you've neglected me. So you summon me to the throne room and talk to me like I'm 4 years old.
Maybe because that's the way you act.
Is that why you copped out on the dinner Rita and I were supposed to have here? Because you're afraid we'd break your good china?
Something came up.
Something came up. Well, she's my wife, and you haven't even taken the trouble to acknowledge it. You wouldn't even know what she looked like if we hadn't been invited to this house for Stephen and Betty's wedding. I remember you asked her for a glass of champagne. You smiled. Is that your way of taking an interest in your grandson's life?
Hey, Norman.
Bug off!
Maybe I mislaid the invitation to your wedding.
Hey, come on, this is pointless.
How would you know?
Round's over.
You're doomed to mediocrity, Norman. You're still the same spoiled, selfish little boy you've always been.
You shut up, he will too.
Maybe I don't want to shut up.
Well, maybe you should.
Well, if the chain fits, you wear it. He's got one of us. Isn't that enough?
Go home, Norman.
What did you have to do to get chosen, Rod?
Get out of here.
Preview from the continuing story of Peyton Place.
The student Anne Howard decides to let the truth be known. The truth about you, Martin. About your reason for this sudden burst of family feeling. Your precious relationship with your grandson's collapses.
I warned you, Ron. You will destroy our family.
No, Dad, not the family. Just you.